welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerd Steve, and tonight I'm joined by this fine
Nerdarchist Ted. How are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I'm doing good, ready to rock and roll and talk about some barbarians.
So I gotta say, reading it whole cloth, I was kind of impressed. To me, this is the first thing of taking, the new player's handbook. And while I didn't side by side it, I knew I was a little frustrated that it took away brutal critical.
Yep. Well, let's kind of like go in order then. Sure. I guess, the first thing is, they unified everything, all the subclasses you have, I believe they all have 4 subclasses. They all get them at 3rd level. So and just the straight up organization of the book is much better so far than 2014, which I mean, it's to be expected. They're professionals. They've been dealing with this edition for 10 years. So even if you don't like the content, the organization is a lot better and it's much easier to use the book. Actually, I did do some comparison to other things and I started right off with Rage and I found some differences. No longer calls out specifically melee-based strength weapons for your rage damage. So if you chuck a hand axe, you can do that and you can do the damage with your, which is cool. One of the things that always frustrated, you couldn't build a ranged barbarian. Now, I don't expect them to use a crossbow, guns, or bow, but throwing shit definitely seems, kind of a barbarian thing to do.
Right.
The other thing, taking damage no longer extends your rage. And also your rage ends every round, essentially, unless you do one of the things that keeps it going. And which is, either
make an attack roll.
Make an attack
roll. You force an enemy to make a saving throw, or you can use a bonus action to extend it.
Yeah.
Which I love that aspect.
And it's even better because
your rage lasts 10 minutes instead of a minute.
Yes. So you may, in theory, if you're doing a dungeon run, and you're going from room to room, that's 100 rounds. So you can extend your one rage for several combats, if you wanted to, at the low cost of your bonus action.
Yep.
So I figure we'll just go over things that have changed and are different. If you're new to D&D and this is your first experience with us and D&D, I'm sorry, this isn't, because we're not really going to go over what was done and we're not going to go over this whole cloth. We just want to kind of compare it to the things we like, what we like about it, what's changed, what's different. So the other thing is you get weapon masteries because you're a martial class. They all get them. You start with 2, it goes all the way up to 4, and you can change them out after a long rest. And it's kind of like you train with a new weapon for a little bit, go through a couple weapons katas, and you're good to go. A new weapon mastery.
Indeed. 2nd level, they changed the wording on danger sense. So something that you can see is, are you incapacitated? No? Great. You have advantage on dex saves.
Oh yeah, I completely missed that part.
Oh, one of my coworkers, ironically also named Ted, I was having a discussion with him today about that specifically, and I was like, well, why the change? That it's like, oh, well, they I guess they're wanting the players to fail saves or what have you. That's like, well, how can I take away your ability to see this? Can I make you blind or make you surprised or all of these things? And I'm like, nope, you didn't see it, so now it's not a question. Capacity advantage.
So I guess one of the other things, and if I'll pull things out, you can point out things I'm missing. So primal knowledge used to be something as an optional rule in Tasha's. It's no longer optional. Just means at 3rd level, you get to take another skill from your skill list. But also, while raging,
it's so much better than that.
Well, yes. While raging, you can use your strength modifier for acrobatics, intimidation, perception, stealth, or survival. You just see so much harder with your muscles.
I am so strong. You are terrified, and height as well. I don't know.
Well, yeah, rage is a supernatural ability. It's fueled by your strength. I guess that's it.
So to be fair, let's dial it back, and get into, what they actually talk about with rage. In the flavor text, it's not just, oh, I'm angry all the time. It's a, some barbarians personified in rage as a fierce spirit or a revered forebear. Others see it as a connection to the pain and anguish of the world, as an impersonal tangle of wild magic, or as an expression of their own deepest self. For every barbarian, their rage is a power that fuels not just their battle prowess, but an uncanny reflexes and heightened senses. So it's that connection to the wild world, the untamed power of the universe or multiverse or whatever you want to call it. So it is the heightened senses that get into survival and perception, and your connection to it is not like, oh, my muscles make me see better, but it's that that connection strengthens, thus allowing you to add that modifier, i.e. your connection, into those things you already know how to do. So I like that.
I'm totally down. It does, something that you kind of pointed out previously is, the power creep is just creeping along. And that, I guess that's just another, extension of that.
Sure.
So next thing I jotted down was instinctive pounce.
Yep.
It was an optional feature before.
So now when you rage, you can move, half your speed as part of that same bonus action. So by this level, you've already gotten your fast movement, as long as you're not wearing heavy armor. So 40 for your regular movement plus another 20 from, your instinctive bounce.
So I guess the next thing is where we get into the really fun stuff. As you mentioned, brutal strike. Like at first it was like, oh, they're losing brutal critical. This replaces brutal critical, but it is actually way better than brutal critical.
I completely agree. When I was reading it, I'm like, oh wow, I feel like such an idiot for like, oh, I don't add an extra weapon damage, when I crit. Now, oh, I feel like adding extra damage to this strike because I'm raging and because I can. I'm like, oh, this is very barbarian. I love this.
So the caveat is anytime you use reckless strike or reckless attack, you can choose not to take advantage. And as long as you don't have a disadvantage on the attack you're making, you can use brutal strike. And you have two different effects that you get to choose from. One's a knockback, and the other one's a knockback. And what is the other one? The other is sundering blow. So the first one is staggering blow.
At 9th level, you get forceful blow and hamstring blow.
Yes.
Staggering blow and sundering blow come later.
Yeah. So forceful blow is you just push them back 15 feet, and hamstring is you slow them by 15 feet. But again, now you're getting control effects as a barbarian and doing extra damage, which barbarians do. Right. 13th level, you get staggering blow, which the target is disadvantaged on the next saving throw it makes, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the next turn. This is great if you're trying to, assist the wizard. One, in helping them get out of the way, and two, making this creature more vulnerable to their spells. Sundering blow before start of the next turn. Your next turn, the next attack roll made by another creature against the target gains a +5 bonus to roll. You can't stack those. So now, like, the barbarian is, buffing and debuffing at the same time. So you have a lot more interesting options in addition to you're doing more damage. But at 17th level, you do 2 die 10 instead of 1. And now you can choose 2 effects instead of just 1.
Yeah. I was kind of in awe of reading through all of these things. This really ratchets up how much extra the barbarian is going to be throwing on top of everything that's there. And to me, I really feel, while it's still nice to be able to be like, okay, the barbarian wants action surge, like knowing that you would be pushing these things even further up the chain to get to them. Like, no, man, I want to be able to get these things that much faster.
Yeah, that's, again, the only problem is it's like you got to be pretty high level before you get to do these really fun things.
Sure.
But it is an improvement, right? I think these are cooler. Concerned about power creep? Yep, it's happening. Relentless Rage got a lot better. It used to be it would drop you to 1 hit point if you made the saving throw. Now it's twice your level. And I feel like this ability will pair really nice with Boon of Fortitude and Boon of Recovery.
Yep. I was definitely thinking about those kind of things as well, and being able to make a con save, that's going to be the barbarian's forte. So this is definitely going to get a lot of use, but it doesn't stop there, because at 15th level, they get persistent rage. And it's basically like, you don't need to do any of those things to keep raging. You just do. And it lasts forever. Not just 10 minutes. You use your rage and you are always connected until you feel like not. Or you go to sleep.
Yeah, persistent rage, when you roll initiative, you just regain
I'm
all your rages.
Oh, sorry. It's not forever. It's for 10 minutes. You don't need to do the other things.
Yeah.
It only ends if you become unconscious.
It only ends if you become unconscious. And, at the beginning, when you roll initiative, if you can choose to regain all your rages, which is awesome, because now instead of maxing out at 4 rages a day, you max out at 8.
Workshop those. But it was definitely something that is like, well, it's one difference. It's not going to make a difference in stat modifier, but if you are getting other boons, later that are going to push
it then makes sense. So on to subclasses. So 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th, you get subclass abilities. That's basically how it's always been anyway. Our 4 subclasses are Path of the Berserker, Path of the Wildheart, which is basically just Path of the Totem renamed, Path of the World Tree,
and Path of the Zealot. And in each case, within the book, you have, a nice, piece of artwork that, ties into each of the different subclasses. And, while I felt, in the old player's handbook, the barbarians all kind of felt the same, like, oh, you're just a damage dealing machine. I feel like these guys really connect to a core concept of what these subclasses are, and have abilities that match. I really dig it.
So I would say Path of Berserker is virtually a rewrite at this point. Even though it keeps all the flavor from the original, they made all the right tweaks to make all the problems with the Berserker go away.
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, they fixed the problems with it, though. It was a rewrite, sure, but they made it not suck.
Yeah. So like the first ability you used to get was Frenzy, and it was an extra attack as a bonus action. Okay, on itself, that's a decent thing. Getting an extra attack with your greatsword or your great axe, awesome. The only problem is, in order to do that, you would have to be, you have to use your bonus action. Not a huge deal, but the cost is you were exhausted at the end. That sucks. Now, instead, basically the first time you hit in a round, you do a D6 per rage modifier of extra damage. So that is much better than what you were doing before. And it is virtually the same as if you hit twice.
Right.
Mindless Rage got a little bit of a bump because before it was one, now you're just immune to the frighten and charm conditions when you're raging. If you rage, you end those conditions before you would just suspend them. So, that's an improvement on what it was. It's not a huge difference. The only thing being is ending instead of suspending. But by the time you're done raging, the fight's probably over. So depending on what that effect that was on, you might not even matter, but this is still better. One of my favorite changes is Retaliation went from a 14th level ability to a 10th level ability, which is basically when someone hits you, you get to hit them back as a reaction.
It's fun to get an extra attack.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, would you say Retaliation because it's somebody else's turn? Would that trigger Frenzy?
No, because I think it's worded that the first time you attack on your turn. Let's see. I would have to see.
Yeah, let's say you hit on your turn. Yep.
Yeah, they seem to have caught a lot of that stuff. Intimidating Presence went from like their second worst ability to an actually good ability. You don't get it until 14th level, but now everyone within 30 feet of you, you can make them make a saving throw or become frightened of you, and it's only a bonus action to do it. Before it was one person and your action. And so now, one, it keeps your rage going because you just made them make a saving throw. Two, It's every enemy around you can become frightened of you, and then they get a chance to break the condition every round. Before, you can only affect the creature once in 24 hours. Now there's no limit on that. As long as they keep failing their saving throw and you keep throwing it at them, it's going to affect them. And I think there was one. And so this is an ability where you can expend your rages to use it after you're out of uses. Which, let's see. Yeah, so generally you can only use this feature once per long rest, but you can expend rages to use it again. So now you got, now you a lot of times with the Barbarian, like the way we play, like we would hardly ever use all of our rages, I think. It was very rare that would happen. And now, because you have that ability that gives you your rages back, and also you have other ways of expending it, I feel like it's a more fun resource. And also, I just like when they let you power other things with your resources, instead of just like doing the one thing with it.
I love that particular style. Anytime a class gets a resource and you have something else to do with it, it is a major thumbs up to me. Next up is Path of the Wild Heart, which used to be Totem. Level 3, you get the ability to do Beast Sense and speak with animals, but you can only cast them as rituals. And obviously, Wisdom is going to be your spellcasting modifier for it.
And that's exactly the same as 2014.
You get the Rage of the Wilds, which allows you to choose one of the different totems. You get Bear, Eagle, and Wolf. So
there's an important caveat to that. You get to choose every time you rage.
Yes.
Before you just chose, and that was you're that thing.
Now, the great part about having the ability to choose while stacking it with weapon mastery and your brutal strike abilities, I really feel that you're going to be able to make a Wildheart Barbarian that has so many options on the battlefield for, control and manipulation that it is going to be, unless you really know your stuff. But I am here for it. I don't think Bear did change. You, instead of just being resistant to everything but psychic, it's resistant to everything but force, necrotic, psychic, and radiant. So the more rarer damage types, you don't resist it for.
Yeah, the Bear got nerfed a little bit, but the other ones got bumped. So Eagle now gets to dash in and disengage as a bonus action, including the bonus action that you rage on. So you get to do that. So which basically means as a bonus action, you just get your extra movement as a Barbarian, whatever that is, especially if you go with the speed build, that's a lot of movement. And also you're basically immune to attacks of opportunity at the same time. I'm also curious, how does that interact with Pound?
That's what I was going to just say. I would imagine that, you're being able to do this. Neither thing is going to increase your speed. It's just saying you get to also do these things. So let's just, say, because you're 7th level, you have a speed of 40. So you would be able to move 40, 60, 100 feet without provoking opportunity attacks if you go Wildheart and Eagle when you rage. That's fast.
Yeah, and it used to be that you would just be disadvantaged against attacks of opportunity. Now you're just like, no, I don't do that anymore.
It's like, I am too good.
I think the other one didn't really change very much. Eagle, Bear, Wolf. And the Wolf didn't change at all. It's the same. It's just you grant advantage.
You give pack tactics to your allies.
Yeah.
That's what the Wolf does,
So you just gotta be a kobold so that you get pack tactics and then everyone else get pack tactics around you as well.
Well, we don't have kobold in this book, so we don't know what kobold is supposed to look like.
Well, you can still use the other species.
He just needs sunglasses. So we move on to 6th level, which I do believe these are changed. Owl might be the same, but we now have Panther and Salmon. So you either can get a climb speed from Panther or a swim speed from Salmon.
Well, and Owl gives you dark vision, 60-foot dark vision, or extend your dark vision out 60. Now they all used to be the same animals. And Eagle just was the one that would let you can see fine detail up to a mile. And dim light didn't affect you. Now, like that's kind of been replaced with, well, you just straight up get dark vision or extend your dark vision. And these you can change with a long rest. And yeah, so basically the 6 level abilities completely reworked. And also again, where you always kind of get to choose and change things, which I always had like mixed feelings about that. I know I'm probably in the minority though. Nature Speaker is the same. It's commune with nature. And then Power of the Wilds, choose an option every time you rage. So again, we're getting those options renamed to Falcon, Lion, and Ram. And a lot of them are the same, but with less restrictions. So like Eagle used to give you a fly speed that only lasted the round. Now you just have a fly speed as long as you're not wearing armor. And then which one was it? One of them, it was, I think Bear was like, gave disadvantage if they didn't attack you. And then there was immunity to that ability if you were immune to the frightened condition. So that restriction's gone. And now Ram probably replaces the Wolf, which is basically as part of the attack action, you can knock someone prone. Before it was a bonus action and you can knock them prone. So it's really beefed up. And again, like you were kind of talking about, between the weapon mastery and the brutal strike, you're going to have so many control effects that you can build out with your Barbarian compared to before. That brings us to Path of the World Tree. And this is the only one that is new, right? Like there was a play test for it, but this one is 100% new. So I guess we should talk about this one a little bit just because like we haven't really seen it before.
Sure. So barbarians who follow the path of the world tree connect with the cosmic tree Yggdrasil through their raid. The tree grows among the outer planes, connecting them to each other in material planes. These barbarians draw on the tree's magic for vitality as a means of dimensional travel. So that's not something you think about hear the concept of, barbarians and dimensional travel. That's like, what the frick?
True. But, when you talk about the world tree from Norse mythology, it is literally, it is how you get from realm to realm.
Sure. And I'm here for it. And I like the stuff that this subclass, offers. And it takes Barbarian, again, in a different direction than what we had seen before. So I like it.
The thing is, when you have 3rd level, when you rage, you basically get temporary hit points equal to your Barbarian level. It's whatever. I mean, you're raging, so it's almost like being double. But they're not going to last long. But it's a little bit. But the cool thing is, at the start of each of your turns, while your rage is active, another creature within 10 feet of yourself gains temporary hit point equal to a number die 6 equal to your rage bonus. So you are a temporary hit point battery for the other characters in your party, and especially if you're fighting shoulder to shoulder with another martial character, you can be constantly buffing them. And even if you're like using some kind of flanking rules and you have an enemy between you, they're still within range, so you're still buffing them.
Yeah, so that is something that I think really, really works out well with. And I also see this particular Barbarian who, especially at higher levels, when you have, as we talked about, more rages than what you're ever going to do with, you're like, all right, I ran out of temporary hit points. I'm going to rage again just to refuel those temp hit points. Especially like high levels, you get rages back when you short rest. You get rages back when you roll initiative. Now, come on, let's keep this going. So 6th level, you're going to get branches of the tree. Whenever a creature you can see starts to turn within 30 feet of you while your rage is action, you can take a reaction to summon spectral branches of the world tree around it. Target must succeed on a strength saving throw, or in the nearest unoccupied space you can see. After the target teleports, you can reduce its speed to 0 until the end of the current turn. So it's like, hey, you over there, get over here and don't move.
That's funny because I was calling it the get over here ability when I was reading it.
Get over here.
It's again, we're getting more of those battlefield control abilities, which is super cool.
But to move them and reduce its speed until the end of the current turn.
Well, also, like you're also using a reaction, right? So it's like, oh, enemy charges the mage, right? You're like, that's not good for the mage. How about I bring you over here instead, and you can't move and get back to the mage?
Or close enough. It's like, all right, come here.
So yeah, that is definitely cool. And I guess you could kind of use it on allies in a pinch.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure what you would use it for, but I'm sure creative players will find a way to make it work.
Completely. So level 10, bring roots. You want to do this one or me to?
Sure, I got it. During your turn, your reach is 10 feet greater with a melee weapon that has the heavier versatile property. As tendrils of the world tree extends from you. When you hit such a weapon on your turn, you can activate the push or topple mastered property in addition to the different mastered properties you're using with that weapon. The thing that is so awesome about this is when we talked about weapon properties last week, one of the things we said, there's going to be other ways to use this, even if Wizards of the Coast wasn't coming up with them.
Absolutely. So like, all right, if you make a Barbarian build, using this particular one is like, okay, I don't know off the top of my head which one reduces their speed, but okay, I'm going to reduce their speed and I'm going to, use this ability to topple. All right. So now they're prone at my feet.
Reduce their speed, push them away. Now they have to use half their speed to stand up, which they don't have as much as they used to. If it's a normal creature, they only have 30 foot of movement normally. If you reduce their speed by 15, now they have 15. They have to use half of it to get up. Now they have 7 foot to use.
So they move 1 square. They can't get to you.
Yeah.
Rinse, repeat.
Right. And if they can't get to you, possibly anybody else, or like you said, if you just want them, to keep them down at your feet or whatever, again, you get an advantage on your other attacks made to attack them. I do kind of wonder for the frenzy, not frenzy, but for the primal strike, what happens if you give up your advantage from reckless, but you get advantage some other way?
I think the way, I haven't read through here, but under 2014 edition rules, advantage is a whole cloth thing.
Yeah, you either have it or you don't.
You're foregoing it for the attack. Doesn't matter how many different ways you get it. You either have it or you don't, and you're foregoing it for this.
We also, at 14th level, we get travel along the tree.
When you activate your rage, and as a bonus action while your rage is active, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. In addition, once per rage, you can increase the range of that teleport to 150 feet. When you do so, you can bring up to 6 willing creatures who are within 10 feet of you. Each creature teleports to an unoccupied space of your choice within 10 feet of your destination space. So it's, as it says, it's the barbarian for dimensional travel, and you're a teleporting barbarian. Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, now you basically have 100 foot of movement to play with on your turn if you need it. 2, I'm thinking there's going to be tons of reasons why that big teleport's going to come in useful, right? For covering distance, got annoying enemies you can't get to. That is going to be super fantastic.
All right, so last is the Path of the Zealot, which this is like the fanatic or the religious barbarian. Yeah, it's like, you receive, boons from a god or pantheon. They experience their rage as an ecstatic episode of divine union that infuses them with power. They are often allies to priests and other followers of their god or pantheon.
So I believe the first level or the third level ability when you first get the subclass is basically the same. Warrior of the Gods is way different, though. So Warrior of the Gods, you used to get Divine Fury is you just do extra damage with your first attack or first creature you hit, basically. But Warrior of the Gods, it used to just give you a discount on Raise Dead when someone who casts Raise Dead on a character, they didn't have to pay the material components. It doesn't do that anymore. You get pools of D12s that as a bonus action you can use to heal yourself with, and you get so many that you get to use, per long rest. It starts at 4, goes all the way up to 7. But, basically it is almost like healing hit dice. And I'm pretty sure there are definitely some epic boons or some other things that will kind of enhance that as well. Oddly enough, I kept going to the healer origin feat with Barbarian, going some of this, there might be some synergy here.
Indeed. So 6th level, you get Fanatical Focus. Once per active rage, if you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it with a bonus equal to your rage damage, and you get to, you have to use the new roll. I'm not really fond of that particular mechanic of, if you re-roll, you have to use the new one.
Yeah, but most of the time, if you're re-rolling, it's because you failed.
That's true.
So, but before, it used to be the same, only you did not get the bonus.
Right.
So, and my problem with that is the same as my problem with Indomitable. Or is it, no, it's just Indomitable. It's you're using that on a saving throw, you suck at. So the chances of you just failing again, they're not 100%, but they're pretty damn close most of the time. 10th level, you get Zealous Presence.
So as a bonus action, you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Up to 10 creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. And once you do it, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest, or you can use one of your rages to do it again.
Right, which that's changed. That's the only change from the other version. Although the capstone ability for Zealot, Path of the Zealot is Rage of the Gods. It used to be called Rage Beyond Death. And basically what it used to do before is, even though you're dead, you can keep fighting. But at the end of the fight, if you don't get your hit points back somehow, then you're just dead, right? You basically get to finish the fight. Now it does a bunch of other stuff.
When you activate your rage, you can assume the form of a divine warrior. The form lasts for a minute or until you drop to 0 hit points. Once you use this feature, you can't do so until you finish a long rest. While in this form, you gain the following benefits. Flight, you have a fly speed equal to your speed and it can hover. Resistance, you have resistance to necrotic, psychic, and radiant damage. Revivification, when a creature within 30 feet of you would drop to 0 hit points, you can take a reaction to expend a use of your rage to instead change the target's hit points to a number equal to your barbarian level.
So this is a vast improvement upon Rage Beyond Death.
I completely agree. At the beginning of this, I feel that each of these subclasses kind of approach Barbarian very differently. They play differently, just based off of us, the read through today, whereas I felt like, sure, the Barbarian is designed to be, part tank, part striker. I feel like each of these does mold and twist and is going to allow the Barbarian to be more than just a sack of hit points.
Yeah, so most of them, you generally fall in 2 categories with the Barbarian. It's become doubling down on being a tank, or doing, being a tank and doing more damage. Here, you're getting both of those paths But in addition to that, they do seem to add in some control effects that just make it give you more interesting options while you're playing. And, and I like playing Barbarians. I like characters where I don't have to think about their abilities as much, and I can just go play. And it also, when I play a class that doesn't have a lot of abilities for me to think about, I tend to be more creative how I use the abilities I do have and what I do in the game itself. And I think this new Barbarian is going to land right into it. So, kudos, thumbs up. If you don't like the idea of 2024, if nothing else, I do think the Barbarian, they actually improved on it. And, again, like, we just know there's going to be more power creep, and it's in there. And, the design philosophy does lean heavily into less punitive for your choices and more forgiving, as far as if you make choices that you don't really care for, you can kind of change them during play. And you're not like stuck with that, but you don't have to go, GM, I don't like these choices I made. Can I rebuild my character? Because a lot of them reset and you can change them on a long rest. Or in the case of some of these, like the Wildheart Barbarian from Rage to Rage, you get to make different options, which is also useful because when you have different scenarios you're presented with, some of the options are just going to be cool, like better for you. Instead of being more resistant, maybe being more mobile is going to be a benefit on a particular battlefield. Well, you would want to go, eagle all the way for that.
Yep, and I love that, being able to kind of, have that fluid choice. I see Barbarians, being, very, very tattoo heavy, and Wildheart, I feel like you could kind of go in that direction where I'm like, oh, well, before, like, oh, it's all bear all the way.
Yeah.
And you could make someone who's got a very Ursine themed thing, where here I feel like, no, you're connected to all of them, and you can literally, oh, well, like if you wanted to flavor your character, you could literally be like, okay, well, I'm going to call upon this. And, you literally are touching the tattoo to activate your magic and do the thing. And while it doesn't change anything that's happening mechanically, visually, the impact of what you're doing is different based off of how you do it. And I've watched like the Beastmaster movies and TV shows and, other things that have a very similar aspect. And those all fit into, the Wildheart, Barbarian.
And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.